one, this might be my last Twin Flame Tuesday reading. I know I've kind of slacked on them, but I kind of wanted to give pick a card readings based off what the planet of the day rules. So, for instance, Monday is Moon Day. So, on Mondays, I kind of want to give sort of like spiritual readings, and then Tuesday is ruled by Mars. So that's very masculine, very like warlike, sort of lower energies that you would think of, competition, anger, all of that. Wednesday is Mercury, so about communication. Thursday is Jupiter, so really that could be anything. But I'm thinking about moving the Twin Flame readings to Friday because it's ruled by Venus, and Venus is the sign of love, or the planet of love, right? Saturday is Saturn, so hard lessons, karmic stuff, and then Sunday you can pretty much do anything as well. So yeah, the Twin Flame Tuesdays might move to Fridays. Long way of saying that. You do not have to resonate with the Twin Flame journey to for these readings to resonate. This is just a general soulmate, Twin Flame, higher connection, love reading. So, you know, you don't have to stick to the labels. What else? It won't resonate with everyone every week, but trying to get as many people as possible. I'm going to do Divine Feminine, Divine Masculine. So that can be, you know, male, female, straight, gay, whatever you want it to be. You don't have to, you know, strain yourself. But Divine Feminine, Divine Masculine, I wish I could, you know, be woke enough to get my pronouns all PC, but sometimes I mess up. But y'all know what I mean, okay? So anyway, let's get on to it. And of course, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like a personal reading, check it out below. I am in between jobs, so of course I do need money. But I do like connecting through personal readings because you can just go so much deeper, and I just get a lot of fulfillment out of that. So I would love to, like, let's solve all your problems, guys. Let's get to the bottom of it. It's always nice to hear a different perspective. And I've been to a lot of psychics in my lifetime, and they haven't always been right. In fact, they've never been right about my love life. I think it was because I have Venus in the 12th house, and that's like the house of secrets. So maybe it was kind of hidden. They've always been right about my career, but I feel like now that I'm more open in my love life, that maybe it'll be easier for them to read. But like, a lot of the general ones on YouTube have been accurate. So, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what that is. Either this wasn't the time whenever I was asking for the love readings, I guess. But let's get on to it. One more shuffle. Thank you for your patience as I ramble on. Okay, so where is the Divine Feminine at? She might be in sort of a damsel in distress place right now. She might want you to swoop in and be her Prince Charming. She might be dealing with a lot of challenges in her life. Perhaps thinking, you know, I wish I didn't have to bear this burden all by myself. Let's see what else. And we have the Chariot reversed. Yeah, so she feels a little out of control. For other Divine Feminines, I feel like maybe she is trying to rescue herself, holding it all together, trying to prove, like, I'm this strong, independent woman. I don't need no man. But really, she's kind of like withering away. Let's just put it this way. I do encourage independence. I do encourage your own personhood. I do encourage not settling for relationships. I do encourage looking at your own stuff before you get into a relationship, right? I encourage the Nine of Pentacles energy, where you cultivate a sense of wholeness within yourself before you connect with someone else, right? Before you, like, not looking for someone else to complete you, but looking for another whole person who has done their personal work, who has done their inner work. But I think, and I've said this a lot in my readings, I think some of that I don't need no man vibes are actually more egoic than they are being strong or being independent. I think it's kind of like being in denial about some things and having like a lack of control in her life. Well, those were for the damsels. For the ones who are trying to put on a face of having it all together, then they might be a little too controlling, right? They might try to control their life too much to the point where it's like, why are you overworking yourself? Why are you doing twice as much for half as much, right? Why are you trying to like put on this strong face when someone else can help you? So the Divine Feminine, whether she's on the damsel side or whether she's on this sort of cocky, independent side, she hasn't figured out a balance between dualities, right? We have a Sphinx here and then a Sphinx here, and usually the message of this card is that two horses or two Sphinxes are moving in two different directions, and you have to be in control of the reins and have focus and determination to steer both of these guys in the direction you want them, even though they may want to go into separate directions, right? So I feel like this duality of this Sphinx and this Sphinx is finding that balance between receiving help from someone else and being self-sufficient on your own, right? And so whatever side of the spectrum she's on, the Divine Feminine right now isn't in the center of that balance, right? So where's the Divine Masculine? We have Talisman reversed. I know what this means upright, but I'm having a little trouble reversed. And then we have the Magician reversed. So the Magician reversed is about doubting one's abilities. So the Divine Masculine might be in a place right now where he is not sure if he can live up to the challenge. He's not sure if he can swoop in and be that big papa to rescue you, right? Like, does he have what it takes? He's not sure. He might be in a place where he is cultivating some skills to be that big papa, to have that confidence, to swoop in and take charge and create his own life. I'm going to read from the book Talisman because reversed, I think it's a different meaning, and I don't want to, I know some of you don't like when people read from the book, but get over it. Each of us read differently. Okay, so Talisman says, a reverse talisman card warns that you must be aware of repetitive patterns in your life. Sometimes the things that feel most familiar carry with them reminders of what you don't want to experience again. So the Divine Masculine might be going through a place where he is, perhaps looking at patterns of past relationships, and he's like, I really messed that up. I don't want to do that again, right? And I think it might, with this Magician card, it talks about skills and abilities. So he might have cultivated some sort of like, what do they call it? It's like catch. Dang it, what is it called? But some sort of like way to get women that isn't working for the level of spirituality that he's at now, right? So the way he used to get women, he's like elevated, and he hasn't like, now that he's reached a higher level of spiritual ascension, he has to learn new skills, right? He has to date differently. Well, let's continue. Yet here you are faced with an important choice. You can move forward cautiously, or you can look for another path that will take you in a new direction. What did I say, right? He's learning new things. He's doing things differently. He's learning new skills on how to love, how to receive love, how to be that man, you know? Hold on one second. Let me see. I think that's all that I want to say for talisman. Okay, so that's where the Divine Feminine and the Divine Masculine are. If that does not resonate with you this week, then come back next week and hopefully it resonates then. But this is not your story if those two energies are not gelling with you, right? So I don't want to keep you for the rest of the reading if it doesn't resonate. But let's move on if it does, okay? What does the Divine Feminine want to tell the Divine Masculine? We have the Bone Collector, ooh, and we have the Two of Swords. So the Divine Feminine, you know, whenever you guys separated, she may have taken it really hard and taken it personally. She might have taken your issues personally as like attacks on her. But throughout this experience, throughout this time of separation, she has taken the blindfold off and she has seen the blessings in the separation, the blessings in the breakup, and she is coming to a place of realizing that this happened, the separation, the breakup happened for a reason. She had stuff to deal with on her own that she wouldn't have done otherwise if you guys didn't separate, and you had stuff to work on for your own, right? And I feel like the Divine Feminine right now is in a place where she accepts that you had to pull away, that the runner had to pull away from the chaser to work on their ish, right? To purge their baggage. And she respects that, right? She wants someone, again, who's whole. So how can she have that in the Divine Masculine if the Divine Masculine needs that space to create wholeness within himself, right? So what she wants to tell you is that she no longer blames you for running away. She no longer is chasing. She no longer wants to have a guilt trip. She no longer wants to stay in misery about not being with her partner. Right now, she is seeing that, you know, any tower moment that may have happened, any disaster that may have taken place, put her on the path now to be a better her, right? Even if she had to experience pain in the process, now she can sort of use it as fuel, right? Now she can sort of use it as ignition for a higher ascension for herself, right? There is a tarot reader. I'm going to mess up her name. I think it's something like Water Star Heals or something. But she tells these really good stories at the beginning of her tarot readings. I think she only does like the signs, you know, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, blah, blah, blah. But she channels these stories, and she's a really good storyteller. And she did one for Libra the other day where she talked about how everyone was throwing logs at Libra, and it stored up in their basement, and eventually Libra used it as like firewood for a fire to keep warm. Like there was a snowstorm that came in town, and everyone, like the power was out, and everyone was out of logs, but Libra had the logs because everyone threw logs at them, right? So this is that kind of energy, right? This is like any bad things that have happened to the Divine Feminine, whether it was caused by the Divine Masculine or whether it was caused by other situations in her life, really helped her purge her baggage, for one, really helped her grow as a person, ascend spiritually, and so I think she's in a really good place of gratitude. I'm seeing this bunny right here. So it's reminding me of like fertility, creativity, so maybe she's even channeling those lessons into creative pursuits if she is on the creative end of the spectrum. But even if she's not, she's using it to make new life for herself, right? So let's get on to what the divine masculine wants to tell the divine feminine. We have protecting treasure. So he working on his coin. And then we have the 9 of Wands. What the divine masculine wants to tell the divine feminine is that he is really struggling. He's really guarded right now because he is trying to build up his financial stability so that he can be whole, right? For a lot of the masculines, they get a lot of their confidence from their career, from their job, from their monetary gain, from their material world. And I don't even mean that in a shallow way. My North Node is in Taurus in the 6th house, and like one of the lessons for Taurus North Node is to value possessions, right? It's just like something I'm learning. I've just never really been a materialistic person, but we live in a material world, and I am a material girl. No, but we live in a material world, and so materialism doesn't always have to be bad because it is part of our matrix, right? It is part of, there's that Marie Kondo trend of, does this spark joy? If it doesn't, throw it out. So objects matter, things matter, and I feel like the divine masculine is just, he is overworking himself, perhaps too hard. I feel like he's probably saving way more than he actually needs to. He probably feels like he needs to, be this super rich man for the divine feminine, and the divine feminine might think I don't need all that, You don't need to work that hard. I don't need champagne and limos every night, but he just wants to make sure that he is able to provide, because a lot of masculines, that is important to them, and that he won't be financially dependent on anyone, right? And, even if you guys split the bills 50-50, providing is not just about paying the rent. Providing is also about being comfortable enough to have free time to take you wine and dine in, right? Whether money is involved or not. So he's just working really hard, basically, so he can take a break. Because that makes sense. No, that does make sense. So he wants to get to a level of stability where he doesn't have to push, work. So let's get on to it, to the next question. How does the divine feminine feel about the divine masculine? We have follow the leader, and we have the 10 of Wands. So, the divine feminine might have reached a place recently where she's okay, I've been the chaser, I've chased you away, I stalked you, I was obsessed, and she might be taking responsibility for that, and the runner might still be away. So she might have a feeling of sort of throwing in the towel. So how she feels about you, she feels like you are the leader in her life, right? She feels like she wants you to take charge. She wants you to be the big papa. She doesn't want you to be a runner. She wants you to be the leader in her life, right? And again, I don't, for the divine feminines who were having this egoic independence, it doesn't mean that if a masculine is a leader, that person is going to walk all over you, or you let that person walk all over you. It just means that you are in the flow of feminine energy, where you are receptive to whatever that masculine energy has in store, right? You are receptive to the things he wants to provide you, right? And again, it doesn't have to be monetary. Right here, I see a clock on the tree, so it's just time, right? But I feel like how the divine feminine feels about the divine masculine is she feels like she trusts you to take the lead, right? She trusts you to she trusts whatever. She's open to receiving anything at this point, right? She's tired of chasing, and she might be a little embarrassed about chasing. And I feel like she's exhausted. It might be that she, it might be in her personal life, like outside of you, like having nothing to do with you. She might be overworking herself with this 10 of Wands. So this is a mirror. These are two burdensome cards, being overburdened. So in her personal life, she may have even taken on a leadership position, right? She may have gotten a promotion, and now she's a big boss, and it's a lot of responsibility, and so she doesn't have time to be chasing you around. So I feel like just, she's tired of chasing, of working, of pushing hard, of trying so hard to make love work and getting nowhere. So she's like, okay, whatever. You lead. You do it. You tell me where to go. Yeah, let's get on to the divine masculine. Divine masculine, we have peaks of joy. And we have the Two of Pentacles. Let me get a drink of water for a second. Thank you. Excuse me. So, how the divine masculine feels about you. To be honest, you might feel like the relationship had a lot of highs and lows to it. With this Two of Pentacles, there are waves crashing in the background that indicates emotion, and this is like juggling back and forth, juggling emotions, trying not to get in trouble, trying not to say something that's going to get him in trouble, right? And I feel like with this peaks of joy, like, you make him feel so high sometimes and so good sometimes, but then whenever it's bad, like, it feels so bad, because his queen is sort of holding his foot to the fire. So how he feels about you is when it's good, it's really good, and when it's bad, it's really bad. And perhaps he is a little worried that if he comes back in, if he stops running and, walks back, that this chaser energy, this like push, energy might return. But he does have to keep in mind that the divine feminine is in a space where she's like, I'll let that go. like I'm overburdened, I'll let that, those grudges go, right? Because I realize the value in them now. So I feel like the divine feminine perhaps is softened a little, but the divine masculine is afraid that she's still hard. And, like strong women, some of you, they may have dated someone else. They may have been in a third party where their karmic partner was sort of like, why are you with that person? Don't you know I'm better? But while the relationship might not have been as intense, while they may not have been that strong of a feminine, it was easier than this juggling act, right? It was easier than the highs and the lows, the crashes and burns and all of that. So even though they may not have had the intense connection, it was safe because they knew, like, I always say strong women make strong men, right? Because you train a man how to handle a strong woman, right? So not everyone can handle that, and I gotta be honest about myself. I've tried to soften myself. I have Mars in the first house, and I can be a little hard. I can be too strong and too intense and too powerful sometimes. I mean, not too powerful, but not harness my power in the way that I should, right? And that doesn't even apply just to the divine masculine. Sometimes I'm just a little bossy. Sometimes I pop off and say the wrong thing. And so if you are a divine feminine, then you might have that strength too. And the divine masculine might be attracted to that strength because it's an equal, but he might also be scared of that strength and knows that that strength requires the best of himself, right? So he's trying to develop wholeness within himself and balance within himself to match that strength. Okay, next question. What is the divine feminine learning from this relationship? We have commitment reversed, and we have the Six of Wands reversed. So the divine feminine, I feel like what she's learning from this connection is that she's raised her standards, right? You guys might have started out as, a fling. You might have started out as something casual, and that was okay with you, and that was okay with him, and it was okay when you guys both started because you guys hadn't met anyone else like that other person, right? You guys hadn't met each other before. You hadn't known each other like this before. You hadn't had a connection like this before. Give me just a second. Scrappy. So what she is learning from this connection is that she can no longer continue to have these casual relationships. She can no longer continue to, date the way she used to date. What she's learning about this connection is that she requires a deep level of intimacy. She requires an understanding on both parties that there's monogamy, that there is exclusivity, that there is dedication and commitment to the other person, and she is learning that she is valuable, she is a star, and she deserves to be recognized, right? She deserves to be valued in a relationship, and I feel like, she may have gone through all these experiences where she dated a bunch of people who didn't really see her worth, who didn't really see her inner shine, and so that's why she allowed for casual relationships. That's why she didn't have higher standards for herself, because no one ever saw that. No one ever recognized that. But once she met the divine masculine, once she was activated in the twin flame journey, once she met her counterpart, it was like, oh my God, like I cannot do the things I used to do. I cannot date the way I used to date, and I need something higher. I need a connection that's deeper, and no more, just trying people on, no more silliness, no more solely physical relationships. So what is the divine masculine learning from this connection? We have stuck in the mud reversed, We have, oh, two of them. We have the Nine of Swords reversed and the Ten of Cups. Sweet. You know, usually Stuck in the Mud reverse talks about there's nothing you can do. So actually, that does apply. So the divine masculine might have some resistance, might have had some resistance to this connection because, like I said, it was more work than what he had put in before, right? And the more he resisted the connection, the deeper he sank into the mud, right? So the more he ran, the more karma bit him in his butt, right? The more unlucky he became, the more stuck in his life he was. So what he is learning from this connection is just to accept that, okay, this is different than what I have experienced. This is not like any other love I have known before, and I'm not going to fight this connection anymore, right? I'm not going to deny it. He may have even, said he didn't love you when he did. So silly, guys. Just sort of resisting any sort of feelings, resisting any sort of vulnerability, any sort of acknowledgement that this was real, that this mattered, this had meaning. But the more he reaches a place of acceptance, the more he nurtures the connection, right? The more unstuck he becomes. The Nine of Swords is a card about fears, worries, doubts, anxiety, sleepless nights, nightmares. So he may have been going through this for a while. You guys may have had some like astral projection dreams, and that might have freaked him out, because he was resisting this relationship, and he can run, but he can't hide. So the more he accepted that, yes, we are connected, even though we're separated, right? Like, our bond is so strong that even if we're broken up, it doesn't break. So the more he acknowledges that, the less sleepless nights he has, the fewer sleepless nights he has. And the Ten of Cups, I mean, come on now, that's happily ever after, happy home, happy family, happy life. And so what he's learning from this connection is that his ultimate happiness is available to him. You know, he might have wanted this connection, but not thought it was actually possible. And then once it came into his life, he might have thought like, oh, this is too good to be true. Or something has to be off with her. I don't trust her because I'm too happy right now, so I gotta run, right? And I think too, with this Nine of Swords, this could have like nothing to do with you. This could have, this could be something related to his past, his relationship patterns. We did talk about his relationship patterns earlier with this talisman, right? Relationship patterns, karmic partners, ex-wives, ex-husbands, ex-lovers. And so what he's learning from this connection is that it doesn't always have to be like it was with those other people, right? Like maybe he just hadn't met you before, and so that's why those relationships didn't end. Maybe he just hadn't met you before and had this connection before, and so that's why he had to learn his lessons. He had to learn his karma through those relationships, but it doesn't mean that this happiness is unavailable to him or that this happiness should be distrusted or anything. It just means that his patterns put him on the path he's in now, right? And the more he tries to struggle against that, the deeper he sinks into stuckedness, right? So let's move on to the next question. Sorry. How is the Divine Feminine healing the collective? We have the Magical Map Shifter, love it. And the King of Swords, excuse me. So the Magical Map Shifter talks about sort of serendipitous events where you, it's like fated events, right? So meeting someone on the street randomly, right? Those connections that are like magical and you met for a reason and they changed your life forever, right? And again with this standards, the King of Swords, he's sort of unmerciful and unforgiving, but at the same time, like, I mean, he is a little bit of a hard ass stonewaller, but he draws the line in the sand, right? He's not willing to settle for less. He's not going to lower his standards. And so the Divine Feminine, as a collective, might be a little colder than usual, but it's because they can't let in lower level relationships anymore. It's only higher level connections now because she has had so many serendipitous events in her life. And I don't even think this is her twin flame. I mean, part of it is her twin flame, of course, like them meeting. But I think it is other synchronicities in her life. Like she may be seeing, I have a pick a card synchronicities video you guys might want to check out. You know, she might be seeing 1111, 222, 333. But other than that, you know, other synchronicities as far as songs go, and her life is just in alignment and in flow, and things are falling into place now where they might have seemed really chaotic for a while, right? But she's like really in sync with the universe and like a co-creator of the universe, and the universe is sort of orchestrating behind the scenes, creating this beautiful life for her, for you, for all the Divine Feminines, right? Because she's healing the collective this way. She's healing the overall feminine energy by ascending in her spiritual path and having her matrix look more and more like her manifestations, look more and more like the dream she actually has for herself. I had one more message. It could also be, again, with the astral projection, right? So, and I just say that because this ring is sort of like how I conceptualize astral travel, and then she's blindfolded, so it's like dreaming at night. I feel like I had one more message, but maybe healing the collective. Oh, so another way she's healing the collective is, I feel like, you know, the King of Swords is very logical, and I feel like, yes, she is using logic to sort of draw that line as far as her standards go, but I feel like she's also getting rid of some logic and using more of her intuition, and understanding that there are some things in her life that she can't explain. There are some things in her life that no amount of thinking on her part that even involves law of attraction, the secret intentions, manifestation stuff. Like, nothing she can conceptualize in her head is as big or as grand as God's work, as God's plan, right? So she's working as a co-creator in her universe, and her manifestations are being more in sync, but she is also coming into really unexpected blessings and miracles that blow her away, even if it's just a feeling, right? These might not have manifested in the 3D world, but she is having these feelings now where she knows that her matrix is being reconstructed, right? Ooh, I love that message. Let's get on to the Divine Masculines. How he is healing the collective. We have coming apart, and we have 10 of Pentacles. So honestly, for the Divine Masculines, how they are healing the collective, I feel like for a lot of them, they're healing with divorce. Both of these cards, coming apart, and the 10 of Pentacles is sort of like breaking family bonds, breaking family legacy. And I say this a lot whenever divorce comes up, but you shouldn't think of divorce as a failure. You shouldn't think of your marriage as a failure, because your marriage was part of your karmic destiny, and divorcing is part of your karmic destiny too, because you came together in that in that bloodline, right? In that ancestral line. You joined with someone else. That's what happens whenever you marry. You make it official. You join with someone else. You merge with their karma. And you two had karma to solve in regards to your family, in regards to your mom and dad's baggage, in regards to your grandma and grandpa's baggage, and their grandma and grandpa, and so on and so forth, right? And so whenever you divorce, a lot of times you are cutting ties in that karmic story, right? I don't want to give a specific example, and it's going to be different for everyone, right? So, I will give a specific example. When my parents divorced, divorcing cut karmic ties for my dad so that he released some toxic patriarchy, he released some toxic masculinity that he would have carried over had my mom and him still remained married, right? There was no incentive to change. There was no incentive to develop this whole other life for yourself if you were in a relationship that enabled that behavior, right? So breaking those karmic ties was important in his ancestral karma, in his DNA story. It left a signature on his bloodline so that I don't have to experience that, right? And he doesn't have to live a life that was as toxic as his dad, right? Another thing I want to say is that divorce, especially if children are involved, it's kind of like pruning the family tree, right? So you cut ties with that person and new growth forms. If my parents had never divorced and my mom never met my stepdad, I would never have a stepsister. I'm an only child. Sometimes it gets super lonely. I'm grateful for a lot of it, but I hate a lot of it too. And I'm really grateful that I was able to have that stepsister. She was only around like summers and Christmases, but I'm really grateful that I grew in my family. I grew in my love because they cut that tie, right? So we were able to welcome in new love after cutting that old tie. So the Divine Masculine is healing the collective by breaking ancestral karma, by cutting old ties and putting a signature on his DNA so that he doesn't have to relive the same story as his parents or the same story as his parents' parents and their parents' parents and so on, right? So he is developing a new life for himself. And even if he's never been married, it still talks about karmic patterns within family bloodline. And I say that because of the 10 of Pentacles, right? Legacy, family, and all of that. For other Divine Masculines, I feel like this has something to do with putting a signature on their ancestral DNA in regards to mental health. Sometimes when I see this coming apart card, I kind of feel like your head's kind of like you're coming apart at the seams, right? Like you're losing it, right? You're that mental fortitude, that emotional fortitude that you used to have is withering away. It's unraveling, right? So you can't be the same person you used to be. It's kind of like taking a mask off, or your mask like crumbling. And you have to, you know, build a new mask or show your actual face or whatever the case may be. But I feel like it might have something to do with mental illness, that he is but this is Healing Collective. Let me think. You know, maybe in spiritual development, he's coming apart as far as what the paradigm wants him to be, what this matrix has constructed for him. And I think, again, we're talking about toxic masculinity too. So it's like he's taking off that mask of toxic masculinity and he's writing a new signature on his DNA. And it may be really scary for him because, you know, his identity might be shifting right now. But as his identity shifts, then the whole collective shifts, right? So men overall, masculines overall, are put in a position to be better, to develop all the light attributes of masculine energy, right? The protector, the provider, the drive, determination, the focus, the confidence, the mojo, you know. Let me get a drink of water. Oh, thank you. Okay. So, what does the Divine Feminine need? We have Deep Freeze. And we have the King of Pentacles. So she might need a break right now. She might need a vacation. But I feel like what the Divine Feminine needs is a commitment to herself, and it's going to require her to take a break, perhaps from deep diving into twin flame videos or what her crush is doing, or, you know, chasing that guy, taking a break for herself. And I don't really get this as money, although, like I said, it could be. They could have some Divine Feminines could have stepped into positions of authority and leadership and got promotions, and so maybe they are at a new level of their finances and career. But I feel like this is mostly a commitment to herself, being stable for herself. And it's like she has to commit to loving herself, to being there for herself, to taking care of herself, making sure her needs are met, so that she can expect that from someone else, right? And I think that's going to require her to take a break from all the things she may have been obsessing about. I think she is in a place of accepting the things from the past that, you know, caused a lot of fights and a lot of trouble in the relationship. You know, she may have been jealous, you may have been jealous, anything like that. So she is past that, like far past that. She accepts the lessons, she's grateful for the lessons. We saw that in the Bone Collector. With this Deep Freeze, I feel like a focus on what she truly expects, her values in a long-term relationship, right? Her, you know, I recently asked Twitter and Facebook what they look for in a partner, because before I met my twin flame, I had this checklist, you know. I had like all these things I wanted. And I don't think they were unreasonable because I manifested them in my twin flame. And he was even more than that list, right? Like I said, like God will provide you even more than you could ever dream of. However, now that I have learned all the lessons from the twin flame journey, I'm asking other people to sort of reevaluate my original list and sort of wonder, like, well, what do I expect now? Because so much has taken place that, you know, it's put me in a bit of a tailspin inside the twin flame journey and outside of the twin flame journey, just personal life stuff, that divine feminines may be in this deep freeze of sort of reevaluating their expectations for committed relationships, right? Okay, let's see. What does the divine masculine need from the divine feminine? We have dry desert, and we have the 9 of Pentacles reversed. Interesting, interesting. What does the divine masculine need? The dry desert talks about how it looks barren, but things are going on underneath the surface. Talking this out. And then the 9 of Pentacles, it's that same rescue card, right? It's not being in the center of being, you know, stone cold, I'm an island, I don't need anybody, to codependent, you know, I need someone to survive. Okay, what I need, what the divine masculine needs. Give me just a second, guys, I'm sorry. Okay, he needs to know that even though things might not be, like, you might not be talking to them, you guys might have blocked each other, he might have blocked you, you might have blocked him, whatever. And you might not have communicated in a long time. It may be like dry as a bone. He doesn't know where he stands. He doesn't even know what's going on. But what he needs is to realize that a lot is still going on under the surface. Like, a lot of water is in this cactus, right? And water is emotion. So a lot of emotion is still in the desert, even if, you know, you see all this dry sand. What he needs to know is, you know, he has resisted the connection. And then as a result of resistance and getting stuck, he has reached a place of acceptance that the bond is strong. So he just needs to trust that the bond is still there and that there is stuff going on beneath the surface that he may not see, right? So she might not be chasing you anymore. She might not be poking you on Facebook anymore. But her love is still there. The bond is still there. And with the 9 of Pentacles, what the divine masculine needs. I feel like the divine masculine needs to, one, express how much the divine feminine is needed and appreciated, but also express how much her love is needed for him, how much the divine feminine is needed for the divine masculine. So I feel like with this 9 of Pentacles reversed, it's about expressing needing someone, appreciating someone, feeling needed, feeling appreciated. If the divine masculine was hurt in the connection because he didn't feel needed and appreciated, he needs to express that. If the divine masculine, felt like the divine feminine was too much of a hard ass and didn't need no man, then, he needs to express that he needs to feel needed more. So this is about feeling needed and appreciated, but I don't feel like it's a neediness, right? Am I making sense? I feel like it's a healthy amount of feeling needed and feeling appreciated, and for both parties, right? Making sure that the divine feminine knows that she's needed and appreciated. Making sure that the divine feminine knows that he needs to feel needed and appreciated, right? If she's like living this fabulous lifestyle, what's the point in sweeping in this dry desert and scooping her up, right? If she's happy on her own, then what's the point? But I do feel like that doesn't mean that the divine feminine should reach out to him. I feel like, that would only enable him to not be that big papa. So to be that big papa, I feel like there has to be some sort of vulnerability on his part to just reach an understanding of, relationships require relying on each other and being a support for each other. And, I want to know that I am valued in your life, and I want you to know that you are appreciated in mine. Aww. Okay, so let's do the last message to leave you with. For the divine feminine, we have listening reversed, and we have the hermit. The energy, man, the energy is saying the same message that we started out with. So this is a solitary energy, right? This is like, I can do it on my own. I'm on this journey by myself, and I'm happy with myself. There's that study that came out recently, kind of annoys me because it was self-reporting and I think it was inconclusive, but basically what it said is that single women are the happiest, and they shouldn't even bother being with men. I just feel like it was sort of short-sighted, because it was like, I read tarot, and a lot of people, like a lot of women, like, who are single, that's all they ask is about love, right? I don't know. I feel like there is a cultural expectation now to be like Carrie Bradshaw, sip your martinis, wear your fancy shoes, and not need a man. And I totally get moving away from divine feminine energies where you're super needy and where all you dream about in life is a wedding, and where you just ditch your friends anytime a guy says you're pretty, right? So I totally agree we should move away from that, but there should be a balance to where it's not at the other end of the spectrum, where men don't feel needed, or masculines don't feel needed. Masculines don't feel like, what's the point in being in her life? What's the point of pursuing her if she's just like turned away, turned away looking at her lamp? What's the point of connecting? And so with this listening reversed, it's like, maybe you need to I'm hearing listen to your heart more than ego, right? So listening more from a place of understanding that you've reached this level where you can't just commit to anyone, right? So you're not just going to settle for anyone. We've covered that. But at the same time, sharing your life with someone is important too. And sharing a life with someone is something that your heart longs for. So living this solitary life by yourself turns out not to be as fabulous and goes against what your heart is saying, right? It's going with what ego is saying, which is, I'm just going to sip my wine, watch my flea bag, I don't need a man, I don't need anything, they just cause too much problem, they don't take out the trash. But if you sink into your heart space, realizing these are my expectations, and again, taking this pause, you're taking a pause, but it's not like you are, like, it doesn't mean you have to write them off altogether, right? Taking a pause to evaluate, who do I really want to share my life with? What do I expect from them? Are my expectations reasonable? And being open to having the universe line up these sort of things for you, right? But if you stay in a place of, I can do everything on my own, I don't need anyone else, then you put a block, you put a resistance on receiving that love, right? So you're telling the universe two different things, and they don't know, like, when it says listening, they don't know what to listen to. They don't know what to listen. They don't know whether to listen to your, like, sassy, fabulous Carrie Bradshaw life, or whether to listen to the life that happens at midnight when you're crying in bed wondering where your twin flame is, right? So you have to get really clear about the universe and in line with what your expectations are for this relationship, and open to possibilities that are bigger than your expectations, right? That's the final message for masculine. So just finding a balance. We have the Wizard of Awareness reversed, and we have the King of Wands reversed. So the Divine Masculine might not be taking action right now because he is reacting to external stimuli without observing it. So he may see something on social media that says, you know, what do you guys look for in a partner? And he may think, oh, she's moving on, this is a dry desert, nothing's there, right? So I'm not going to act, I'm not going to, like, make a fool of myself. Oh. But that's a reaction to perhaps some past hurts, perhaps some past rejection, and it's not observing what's actually there. So this is mirroring each other, right? She's not listening, he's not observing. This is both like a reaction in order to achieve self-preservation. But in the process of self-preservation, you are resisting that bond, you are cutting off ties to that bond, and the reconciliation, the reconnection can't happen so long as you are stuck in these reactions. It can only happen when you observe what's taking place and act, like, strike while the iron is hot, right? So let me know if that resonated. I love you very much. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you would like a personal reading, check the description box below. I love you. Bye.